Back to the recording. I'm trying to figure out how to share my agenda. Hi, Segev, how are you? Segev. Share screen. Oh, there it is. I don't know that it's that important, but. All right, so if I do that, what do you see? Is it my whole little window just disappeared? I'm way better at Google Docs than this. And now I don't know how to undo that. Okay, there it goes. Right. Leslie sent the minutes. Okay. Okay, I think I know what I'm doing. All right, so it's 7 o'clock.
Hello, everybody.
There we go. Hey, Aaron and Brooke. All right, we got a lot of people. Welcome. Thanks for coming. I know the high school principal is doing something at the same time, so this is not ideal as usual. Jennifer Adams said she's going to the high school talk first, and then she'll be here after that. So I don't know how long we want to wait. We'll call the meeting to order and approve. Leslie's not here, but she submitted the minutes, and I'm just going to share them so everybody can see them. Agenda, I just had it right here. Where'd they go? I thought I had it together. This is tricky. I've lost them. Here we go. Minutes. All right. Well, I can share them in my email. That'll work. Open with Google Docs. I don't know if Leslie is coming because she shouldn't be here. Okay, so I should be able to share the minutes so we can approve them, but I don't know why I can't. Okay. I'm going to share the minutes with everybody by just sharing them to you, like to your email. And Tracy, okay. So they'll just come to you in your email. And you may have gotten them already because I know Leslie emailed them out, but I just shared the minutes with everybody. And if you want to, they'll come to your email. And if you want to look them over at some point and we can approve them a little bit later, that would work. I can't figure out how to do it. Okay, so there they are, but I can't do it. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
High school principal say anything interesting?
Sure.
Good.
You're ready.
Sorry, I missed it.
You're ready for the kids. All the filters are in.
Oh, that's good.
No school next Wednesday unless you're taking the government test, which you have to take, and or a MAP test if you're a freshman or a sophomore.
Okay, good to know.
So our juniors are fine. They don't have anything to do next Wednesday. They're completely free.
Oh, that's nice. So mine's going to be doing missing work. So I'll tell you what she's going to be doing. All right, so I was trying to share the minutes, which I was unsuccessful at. I'm not sure why, because I can see everything else here. So I can't do it. So I've just been sharing the minutes with people as they come in their email. And Kevin, I'm sharing it with you. Welcome. All right, so as people come in, oh, Sanjita, I didn't share them with you. So I'm sharing the minutes with you in your email because I couldn't get them to share on the screen, although I can get the agenda to share on the screen. So I don't know what my problem is, but here's the agenda. I'm going to share that. We will approve the minutes in a little while in case Leslie shows up. And so everyone has a chance to look at them on their computer. So I just wanted to welcome everybody. And I think like my idea of the agenda for tonight is to check in with each other, find out what's going on, how the year has gone so far, what's working, what's not, and how we can be helpful as a PTO to parents. So I want to start with Principal Hunter and let us know what you're thinking. One thing that's been going on is we've had chats with the principal and they've not been very well attended. And maybe we can advertise those a little bit better. I mean, on the one hand, no news is good news, right? If people were upset, they would come and complain. So when people don't come, that means they're generally happy, I think. Miata, maybe you can give a little update on what's going on, a little recap of our principal things and your plug for the counselors talks.
Absolutely.
Nice to start.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Good to see you. So yes, we have had principal chats. They've been weekly, but we are kind of reducing them down to monthly. Sorry, we have a baby on, not my baby, but there's a baby in the background. So I apologize. I don't usually have babies here, but it's nice to have that. I have older kids, so he's having fun over there. But we've had principal chats every week, probably since I think before hybrid started, just so everybody was kind of in the know and kind of could ask questions and all that kind of stuff. And we're reducing down to once a month. So they kind of replaced, and I think about it, kind of replaced like the principal pizza or the coffees and things like that we had in the past, where it would just be twice a year. But at least we're doing it more frequently, just for people to come to see what is happening at the middle school and ask questions. I'm hoping that the ones that come up in February, March, April, and May will be more themed, like that we have a theme around it so that we can let people know what's going on. And our school counselors, along with our school psychologists and social workers, will do, and it won't be all of them at the same time, but they're every third Wednesday, with the exception of January 20th, because they're going to have it on the 21st because of the inauguration. They're going to have one as well, kind of talking about, social emotional well-being to help parents with their children. And then also let them know what's happening, let parents know what's happening within the school and what they're doing with their work. But it's really, that actually came out of this chat, which was pretty great. There was a conversation we had about, getting some resources and advice from a school perspective of how to support students at home, especially in the pandemic. And specifically around the holidays. So we kind of started with that in December, and they're going to now do it every third Wednesday. Again, with the exception of this month, it'll be on Thursday instead of a Wednesday. And those are at 12:15. My chats will alternate 12:15, so it's around kind of lunchtime, and 6:30. So every month it'll be a different time. And we chose those times thinking that people may be available lunchtime or, in the evening. So, like Mr. Julie said, we're awaiting the students to come back to school on the 19th. For the high school, this will be the first time that they come in, but for us, it'll be the second. So we're really excited for the students to come back. And as far as, one second, I'm sorry. Yeah, can you go point it back? Thank you very much. What was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Excited for the students to come back. There was something else I was going to say, but it'll come back to me.
This was the second. This is the students here's second time coming back.
This is our second time coming back, and the students who come back will be the A students. So anybody A through K, and then they'll alternate A, B, A, B. Oh, this is what I was going to say. There was a survey that the district sent out for anybody who wanted to change. That survey has closed, but our numbers some people have gone out and some people have come in. So the numbers are about the same as what they were, fluctuated maybe by 15 students. So the number of students that are coming in are about the same.
What percentage are at home?
Before, so when in November, the percentage was 58%. So it's probably still around that same, 58, 59% of students on site. And then the other 40 online. So, and then you take that number and then you kind of split it in half, kind of sort of, and that's when they come to school. We did look to see if, just numbers wise, what it would look like if all students came back in. Like all the students who say that they're on site, if they came back in, kind of the capacity, we decided to keep it the hybrid, especially when want to change right away. Anyway, so we'll look at that again fourth quarter, I'm assuming. Something else that's new at the middle school is that finally we've had games, basketball games, boys basketball games. So those started on Monday. Was that Monday? Yeah, Monday. So I went to the first the first game, and girls will start on the 19th as far as tryouts are concerned. So that's kind of the update on games. But our swimming team has been coming to I believe have been swimming. I believe so. But it was interesting being the only person in the stand because there are no spectators, but I can go. But it was really nice to see the boys play. They had a good time, and it was also live streamed.
Yeah, I watched a little piece of it because I was watching the high school games, and it was right. Same link was right by it, so I checked in, and I had them both going for a little bit. It was kind of fun. It's funny because the angle made the middle schoolers look bigger than the high schoolers, which I know is not.
Oh, really?
Just the way it was shot. So.
And we have a smaller gym, so that might be something too. So, so that was really cool. And it was great to see the students in a different way too. And then second semester, so there's no school on the 15th and the 18th, and then second semester starts on the 19th. But one thing that I did want to bring up, you know, tonight is just recognizing, you know, the events yesterday and how, you know, I kind of responded to that and how our teachers have responded to that today. It was a very, you know, it's an unfortunate time in our history, you know, and especially at the beginning of 2021. And I just sent the staff something to say, you know, if you're comfortable, as you're comfortable, giving students a space, you know, to voice things if they choose to. I think that's really important. I know that many families have spoken about the events, and that's really the primary place, you know, you should have these conversations, but students are with us, you know, most of the day. And so some teachers, I went into 8 or 9 classrooms today, and you know, some teachers were talking about it, you know, or at least held that space, and then others didn't, and that's fine. Very respectful conversations, but I do think that as a community, we value those conversations and giving space for our children to voice things, because they have opinions. They're 12 to 14 years old and they have questions. And I think it's really important for us to be adults that are, you know, are open to hearing, and also giving them the opportunity to speak to each other also, you know what I mean? And also respecting each other's opinions and thoughts. So, and then, but it was, you know, we have all different, you know, thoughts and opinions and emotions around it. But I wanted to make sure our students had space for that. So.
I know Mr. Sears was on it first period. I
Oh,
said
yeah,
I could
sure.
hear from the other room. You know, Mr. Sears has veered from the curriculum today. And I don't think he ever veered back, which was good. Same thing. And then at dinner, Natalie said that her world history teacher had also spent the whole time, you know, in high school talking about the events of the day. And I think for both of them who had watched and knew a lot about it, that experience it in the classroom, you know, I just kept saying, this is going to be an AP history someday. And they were like, in every history, not just AP. You know, so I think hearing it in school made it, the seriousness of it resonate, I think, a little bit more maybe with my kids.
Yeah, that first period class, I was in a science class and I was there the whole time. And that's how she, you know, she welcomed the students and everything like that. And that's how they started. And I thought that was really appropriate because it was first period, you know, so you see these things after, you know, in the evening, and then it was, so very productive conversation. So I thought that was important. And it's also okay that some teachers didn't, and that's fine too, you know. But encouraging students to, you know, talk with their parents if they have questions and things like that. You all are their first teachers.
So I'd like to add to that. My son came up after his INS class with Miss Roth, I believe is her name, and he was just very impressed and happy about the experience, the opportunity to talk about it. We had spent some time talking about it the evening before, last night, I should say. So, you know, I was actually intending on sending her an email because he was just so appreciative of the conversation. So thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you. So that's kind of my report. I think those are kind of the big things. And if anything else, we don't have anything huge coming up that I know of, other than trying to get the kids back in school.
Do you know the topic of the counselors' talk on the 21st?
I do not. They so there was a needs assessment that they put out, that which was in our middle school memo, And so they're going to look through that first to determine what they would do as far as priority and what parents have. So that I don't know. They're meeting about that though.
I have a question.
Yes. sir.
I'm just throwing this out there.
Mhm.
I see that middle school sports are happening and that the basketball team is 2-0. How are the parents feeling over at the swimming pool?
How are they feeling?
Yeah, have you got any reviews about how that's going over there as well?
I have not personally, but I can ask Mr. Summer.
I
But
I
I have
can-
not. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. My son is swimming, so maybe I can speak to that. And
Sure.
Kevin, I'm sure you know I was against the intramural playing against other teams sort of thing. But
Who
from my-
is
this
this?
is yeah. This is Segev Phillips. You and I
Okay.
argued on Facebook.
Yes, no problem, no problem.
Yeah, it's my understanding is it's generally going well, but I mean, for a while there were only about 6 kids. This is boys, middle school age. There were only about 6 boys in the pool at a time. So,
Yeah.
so spacing was super easy. He was a little uncomfortable when they were doing exercises off the starting blocks because you inevitably are getting very close to each other. But we had always told them, like, if it gets to be too full or if it gets to be like, we are not interested in intramural competitions or anything like that. So, but in terms of 1 hour a day to an hour, 15 minutes a day of just exercise and getting that mental and physical health break, it's my understanding is it's generally been going very well.
Great. I've seen a lot of cars over there for the swimmers. I was just wondering how that was going. So thank you.
Yeah, I'll just chime in as my daughter's swimming as well. My understanding is that they're going to plan some virtual meets, so that'll be interesting to see how that works. But I haven't heard any details yet. But hopefully that happens.
Okay.
And Aaron
Thank you.
had a question about supply pickup for second semester art classes that I don't think we got to.
I was just going to put that in the chat. Yeah, so we will have that. I'm sure Dr. Manning and Miss Richard Castleberry, they're going to get that together, make sure we have all our rosters and all that stuff together. So we're going to definitely have a pickup for art and then also design. Those were the 2 that were kind of the big ones first semester.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I figured out how to share my screen. Well, I knew how to share it, but I couldn't figure out how to get the minutes on it. So here they are. And Leslie is here, so that's good because she took them. So we just need to approve the minutes. I don't know if you want me to scroll. There's only a little tiny bit on the next page. So if anybody wants to make a motion to approve the minutes, that'd be great.
Are these the same ones that was sent out to us earlier?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if I'm allowed to, but I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I don't know if you're allowed to either.
I
Anybody
second
else?
it.
I'll
Oh, I
second.
move or second, whichever. If we're
Great. All right. Yeah, they were emailed out earlier and I just shared them again and then shared the screen. So if anybody else wants them, Aaron Connell, I don't think I sent them to you, but I'm happy to if I have your email. And so then let me get back to my screen sharing. Where's my agenda? See, I can only do one or the other. Well, that's because it's over here. Okay. So anyway, I just wanted to go around. Here's my vision was that we could sort of share what's going, introduce ourselves. Most of us know each other, but our kids, and then share like what's going well and what we need support with. And what could the PTO do for community building, for supporting parents, for supporting teachers. I mean, I feel like we did a great teacher appreciation thing pretty quickly right before Thanksgiving, Jennifer Adams stepped up, thanks Jennifer, and really helped with gift cards to getting, you basically got the idea going of sending gift cards to the teachers, but I know the teachers are having a really hard time. And at a lot of the principal chats we've talked about cameras on, cameras off, that seems to be the big topic. And we talk about it from the perspective of our kids. And I think like from the teacher's perspective, it's gotta be terrible to be talking to a screen where you can't even see anybody's faces and you aren't getting any feedback from the kids. So I would like to tonight come up with some ideas, you know, like hear from everybody, but also come up with some ideas of how we can be useful as an organization to support each other, but also to support our teachers. So that's kind of my vision for our evening. And then, you know, and I have under new business, wait, let me share my screen for my agenda. Share, here we go, there it is. You know, I have executive board reports on there, which is sort of something that we typically do, but I don't think anybody other than maybe Kevin and I have a report. And then the new business, that's partially the same kind of thing, but I want to hear from everybody before we make decisions in new business on what we want to do, both with our, you know, money and our energy and time. So yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. Kevin, you want to go first and share what's working for your people, for your son and your family?
I don't mind. First, which I touched on earlier, I'm really glad, and we did have discussions throughout the community about sports, and I'm glad to see that the middle school is participating in the district. Right now, for lack of a better way to say it, the basketball team is 2-0. Today they just won their second game. Again, I'm glad to see swimmers are in the pool. During the practice times, I'm seeing the parents picking up and dropping off kids. And I just believe from talking to the parents and the children that I've been talking to, they are excited and glad to be able to be around their peers. Right now, there's no spectators allowed at the venues, but I know that there's camaraderie with those individual students that are getting to compete. And then going away from sports and going to studies. I've been talking to parents, and I wanted to ask this question: has anyone's grades dropped off since their children have been going virtual? And I've noticed that my son, and who usually operates at a pretty high level, has had some issues with his grades since he's been virtual. And that's why we sent him back to school for in school, because he just does better when he's in school and has the teacher there to not only motivate him, but make sure that he does what he's supposed to do. And believe you me, myself and my wife stay on him, but we have to constantly watch that progress book to make sure that he's completing everything. And then when teachers are giving feedback, making sure that he's doing the extra that's being requested of him. And so that's where we are. And from some of the parents that I've talked to, they've said they've noticed that some of their children grades has suffered a little during this COVID from the kids being virtual and alone. And then the parents are having to go back behind and do a little extra work in order to make sure that the students are, again, participating, completing assignments, and making it to radar time and those extra things that the students should be doing that they would usually get if they were in school. And so as well as I know that my son is looking forward to going back. And I know that every student can't. You know, we have households who are have health reasons and things like that, where they can't send their child to school, or the children have health reasons. But for my household, it appears that for my middle school student, getting back to school is going to be really good for him, where my high school student is a little better at making sure that her work is done.
Well, I would say for my son, his grades are horrible. They're horrible. But he's okay. You know, he's happy. He's connected to his friends. He gets up and goes to class without complaining. He stays online and listens all day. And he says he's doing well in the tests, but there's a lot of work. And writing is hard for him. He can dictate, but just physically writing is hard for him. And his grades reflect that. But I think, you know, and he's not going back because he's been really, really, really conservative about COVID. His sisters are a weak link, and he's been just like Christmas shopping. His sisters were like, "I'm going to take you Christmas shopping." He goes, "I don't leave the house. You know, I'm not going anywhere." And he doesn't want to go back. So I've used the grades as a threat to, if you don't get your grades up, you're going to have to go back. And he says he's going to rally and he's going to be fine at the end of the semester, and he's doing that work and whatever. But I mean, to me, I'm more worried about his mental health and his happiness and weathering this pandemic than I am about his grades, assuming he can manage to pass everything. And he's, you know, he's a happy kid, and that's, I don't want school to be an unhappy experience for him, or worse, as my graduate school student daughter said, we don't want to teach these kids to stare at a screen and do no work all day long. Like that's a danger, a lifelong danger if you've learned to sit at the computer and do nothing. So he's engaged. He'll talk about his classes. He likes his classes. It's just so much work. So anyway, that's what's going on at our house. But he's unique, I think, in his take. You know, he's very sort of cynical about the pandemic, and yet he's very connected to his friends. They're in his ear. He walks around the house. And I said, "What are you doing?" "I'm hanging out with my friends." I'm like, "I don't see any friends." But they're in his, you know, in his earbuds. So I think the mental health part is really important. So anybody else want to talk about grades or sports or anything else? How's it going?
Well, I'll just chime in. I'm very grateful. My kids are all having no problems with virtual school. 2 of them are going to go back in person because that's what they want to do. My other child doesn't want to, so he's going to stay home. And I'm very fortunate because they can all do, basically, they can choose, right? They can do what they want. But I was thinking about your comment before about what's going well, what's not going well, and the teachers and the black boxes. And I had a thought, I don't know how, and I am not an IT person, so I can't actually help do this if it can be done. But I have an option, and I'm going to show it to you in a second, similar to what Brooke has right now. And I'm wondering if we could take their school pictures and at least have their school pictures appear in their black box. And part of that is because even my kid who, you know, the high schoolers are really not ever, I heard repeatedly, I think my middle schooler is actually going on and showing her face. My high schoolers are not at all. And the teachers, every conference, that was half the 10 minutes, 5 minutes was spent on that. And I have encouraged my kids so many times and told them, your poor teachers are working their butts off and they would just like to see your face. Can you turn it on for the first 2 minutes and just say hello? And they're like, but nobody else has it on. But if everybody had this option, I'll show you. Hold on a second. See what that looks like? It's just I'm a lot younger, thinner, and, you know, whatever. But, you know, they could either pick it or it could be their school picture. And I don't know how hard it would be, but at least it would give the teachers an idea of what they look like. Because one of the teachers said to me, your son talks a lot in class. I know his voice. But honestly, I don't think I could pick his face out. So it wasn't about engagement in the sense of, are they paying attention in class? My kids, I'm pretty confident for the most part, are paying attention in class. is just more to the teachers to be able to look at something other than black screens. And again, I don't have the IT background to know how hard that is to do. If it's something that the kids could set up on their own, or families could get instructions and we could figure out how to do it on our own. But it's just a thought I had when you were saying, like, what could we do for the teachers, or just thinking about that. And especially, you know, when these kids are in, half of them are in school and half of them are on their computers, it would also help if the kids in the class could see their classmates who are at home, what they look like. Hopefully they know a lot of them, but they won't necessarily know them all. But that's my thought for the day.
I know my son said this morning, I will turn my camera on when 10 other people have their cameras on. And I'm like, well, but those 10 people are waiting for you. You know, he's like, I'm not doing it. There's peer pressure to keep it off, you know? And I said, what if I stand in there and make you turn it on?
My ninth grader was like the holdout in 2 of his classes. And he said, and his teachers even said, some of them said, look, I know he tried and he kept it on as long as he could, but at some point you feel ridiculous if you're the only one with your camera on. But at least if there were other people's faces up, it might be less, you might feel less like you're the only one on. And some people might have their cameras on if there are these faces that could pop up. And I don't know, but I don't think it's that hard to do. But again, like I said, I have an IT department. They do all that stuff for me. So I can't really say how hard it is to do, but just a thought.
Good idea.
Can I definitely ask? I think you have to do it on your own. There are some students that have like their own picture, their picture or some type of, you know, image there. So they are able to do it themselves, but they wouldn't be able to do the school picture.
They couldn't use the school picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe
that's a good question though.
Yeah, maybe it's just a matter of the teachers encouraging the students, in addition to saying, look, I really want to see all your faces. If you're not going to turn your camera on, would you at least consider, if they're allowed to do that, say, would you consider, or maybe telling the team leaders to send it out in the next email and ask the parents and say, if you need help setting it up, maybe there's somebody who can help parents if they don't know how to navigate it and set it up. Frankly, I'm pretty sure the kids can all figure it out, even if we parents can't figure it out, right?
I think they can too. And I think it's a great suggestion because then they can choose the picture that they want.
Absolutely.
That right
and they
there
can change it, right? They can say, this week I'm a basketball player, next week I'm a soccer player, next week I'm playing, you know, in the yard, next week I'm in the beach, you know, whatever they want to put on there. Obviously, there have to be some rules. We don't want bathing suit, you know. Right. I understand it could take a turn. I'm a lawyer. There's risk. There's always risk. But yes. I do think at the end of the day, you know, people could use their judgments. I'm sure the teachers could tell everybody, you know, look, see, there's Brooke saying her kids added it for her. I'm sure the kids could figure it out. Maybe they just need some encouragement, but I think it would help the teachers to at least put a face with a name, especially if half the kids are still not going to come back in person. You know, they're only in the middle school for 2 years and they're not going to have these teachers again. So I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Erin, I'm just going to go around the circle and call on everybody just to see if we can get, you know, what's working, what's not working, any suggestions or ideas of how we can be useful. Erin, you want to go next?
This Erin? I think there's 2 Erins.
Oh, there are 2 Erins. You can go because
I'll go. That's fine.
Go ahead.
Just listening into what Kevin was saying, I wanted to agree. My daughter's had a dip in her grades, which I definitely think is part of this crazy learning environment. But I would say for her, some teachers aren't adding into Progress Book for a long time. So she's just chasing her tail on assignments. And then they drop, you know, and so it's really just trying to keep up with what may be missing. But then by the time she gets to it, they're 2 to 3 weeks past what they were working on. So it's her own personal time management, but also knowing sooner. Like, for example, a bunch of grades dropped today because it's the end of the semester, which is great. But one teacher hadn't posted anything on Progress Book since November 17th. So, you know, we're just like, oh, my, you know, so now there's 3 or 4 things. And she's like, I thought I turned that in. You know, so it's a scramble. So just, you know, I know it's hard. It's a lot to keep up with, but having accessibility to those grades so that she can work on it in a timely manner is less stressful too. So she can go back and ask questions on that work. So that was just the one thing I wanted to mention.
Yeah, and I agree, it's confusing, right? And you go in and
So I just want to say something.
classroom and it's all confusing.
So thank you, Aaron, for saying that. So that's something I want to look into in particular. But I mean, our grading policy basically says that teachers should update at least weekly. You know what I mean? If you have a long writing project or something like that, it might take a little bit of time. But other than that, weekly should be good, because that's the way that we provide feedback, other than what you're seeing like on the actual assignment, right? But that's what parents are able to see as far as how their children are doing in courses. Something else that we're looking at that we're going to, so I'll bring it up tomorrow. I'll have a community meeting tomorrow. So that's something that we'll definitely bring up again. But the progress book, Google Classroom, I actually learned a few weeks ago, because I'm not doing Google Classroom or Progress Book or anything like that. Mr. Lindsay and I spoke with a teacher about the syncing of Google Classroom and Progress Book. And we talked to our IT department about it. So we're going to, some teachers know how to do it and some teachers don't know how to do it. And so next week we have a chunk of time. We're going to go through that with teachers. And also what we think is really important for the consistency for the students and for you all is that the assignments are named the same thing. So on Google Classroom, a student can see everything. You know, they can see the teacher's feedback and all that kind of stuff. You all can't see it on your end unless you ask your child to, you know, open up your Google Classroom. Let's look at this assignment, and you can see the teacher's feedback. And you can also see the grade if they grade through Google Classroom. But there's also a way, if you do grade in Google Classroom, to sync it to Progress Book by like a couple clicks. And I'm not sure if all of our teachers know that. So we're going to show them that, so that second semester is better. I literally just learned it right before break. So we're going to show our teachers how to do that. Some teachers do it, and you can see on Progress Book, it'll have like a little G or something on it, at least on the teacher side, so you can tell that it was synced. So we're going to teach them that so that it's more seamless for everybody involved.
Great.
I had one more question. Have you seen the data that certain classes or courses have had significant drops across the board, you know, because it is virtual, where teachers may want to go in and give more help, say in math or in science, you know, versus language arts or in INS. Specifically speaking, because we changed the curriculum where most or all 8th graders are taking Algebra 1. So as they're moving towards the high school, and at Algebra 1, there's an EOC in May. Just thinking ahead, are more kids thinking of retaking algebra in high school if they don't reach a certain threshold? Is there a rubric that parents should be talking about to say, okay, you know, maybe we should retake it. Maybe if you don't hit this, this, and this, it should be a conversation before they get to the high school, because there may be a large number of students, I don't know what the data is, that may want to consider that, because in math, I believe that if you don't have the concepts, it's very hard to keep moving forward if you don't have a good base and a solid base. So
I understand that from a principal standpoint, but also a math educator, right? And so the data that I have for, so I'm just first quarter, because we don't have second quarter data, because it hasn't ended, but I didn't see, we did have more students not do as well first quarter as we've had in the past. And when I say that, we look at every quarter students who have earned D's or F's in classes, to put some supports in place for them, contact parents, talk to the team leaders, you know, different things like that, so that at the semester, so they're doing better second quarter and at the semester and things like that. As far as algebra is concerned, and do we have larger numbers in algebra than anything else? Not necessarily, but what I did, we did do or percentages, I wouldn't say numbers, but percentages. What we did do in November when we came back, or when we went into hybrid, we did a survey for students. And the students said, for those who participated, there were about 400 students who did the survey, which was, I think, pretty good. Half of our students did the survey. We saw that math and language and literature were the high, like they spent the most time there, which I guess makes sense with the writing and makes sense with the, you know, math and all that. So I shared that data with my department chairs, and it's going through my staff in the next week or two. And with this week and next week, because yes, you should spend time, and yes, you should master, but also the thing is that I want to make sure that students are doing as much work when the teacher is present than not, you know. I think that's really important, especially right now. And I'm seeing that students are taking between 1 and 3 hours after school to do work, which I think that's a lot when you're on the computer. You know, an hour maybe, but you know, 2 and 3 I think is too much. And that's come up in these during the chats and all of that. So it's something for our teachers to look at. The other thing, as far as kind of mastery is concerned, and if we should take it again, I think that, and I've talked to the high school principal about this too, we've had multiple conversations about this, just in general, and not just in a pandemic, but just period, is that if you, let's say you don't do well in algebra, I'll just use that as an example because there is an ELC. You don't do well in algebra in the class. That could be for different reasons. Going to what Emily said as well, is that like Max, for example, might do well on the summative assessment, which means he's understanding, but maybe some of those other things, which could be executive functioning, could be that I didn't do work complete, you know, I didn't do all the little things, but I understand it. And let's say I get to the ELC and I pass it. So what does that mean? You know, if I am able to pass the state summative assessment, but not necessarily get the A or the B or the C in the class, then one, there's a mismatch, number one. And two, I mean, which we talk about what constitutes a grade, and that's a whole nother conversation, right? But if we're really looking at mastery and that is a summative and they're able to pass that, then why not continue? You know what I mean? And then when you go into geometry, which is the next course, you don't need as much, I'm getting very mathy, but you don't need as much of the algebra stuff with solving an equation and that kind of stuff and kind of those abstract skills than you would need into an algebra 2, which those can be built in the geometry course. And so that's kind of the principal part of me and the math educator part of me. But I think it's the course that you're taking now and also looking at that summative assessment to determine, do we retake this class or not? You know, and I think that's an individual kind of basis, honestly, which is not what we have traditionally done. Traditionally, we've done, okay, well, you've gotten this in the class, we're going to recommend that you retake it. My son in particular was in that boat, passed the ELC, did horrible. Mother's a math teacher, made no difference at all. Didn't do well in the class at all, passed the ELC. He took the class over again, which was fine for me because I really knew that he didn't understand like some real basic stuff. He got a pretty low score. I mean, like just passed, but philosophically, he could have gone on. So I think that's a individual kind of a, you know, I think you determine that individually, depending on how well they did.
I have 2 questions sort of related to that. One is with respect to the fact that the kids just took another MAP test. So they've actually taken 2 MAP tests this year. I don't remember if they had taken one in the spring once COVID hit. I think they had taken it before COVID hit. Possibly.
Yeah, but they didn't really get to finish it. So that's,
yeah. And so I'm kind of curious in looking at that data to see if you've seen anything in terms of our numbers going way down, are they staying steady? I mean, I will say my daughter is not a great test taker generally, but her math went up significantly. And I know it was because Miss Webb was such a good math teacher. I think that she got enough, even though she didn't get the last quarter of school, she got enough. So I'm just curious if those MAP testing scores have shown anything. And I'm really not a big standardized test person, but it would be a way to sort of just generally across the board measure a bunch of kids, even if I don't care ultimately what the score is. So that was part one of my question. And then related to what you said about the how much work the kids have, it's interesting because I feel like my middle schooler has no extra work. And I've often said, coming from Woodbury, especially with my now junior, I actually think Woodbury backed off a little bit on their homework after, in the last few years. And when my junior was a 5th and 6th grader, he had significantly more work than my now freshman, and then certainly my now 7th grader. But I feel like she doesn't have a lot of extra work at all. She had a bunch of design in the beginning of the year, but then since then she hasn't. But then I see on Facebook, which is the the black hole, so many people are complaining and saying their kids have tons and tons of work. So I'm like, is it she's just not doing? I mean, she's turned in everything and she's doing well on everything. So there's nothing I'm planning to worry about at this point because I got enough other things to worry about. But is it really just team dependent? And some teams, the kids are doing more work than others, or am I missing something completely?
The first question about MAP, when I looked at, the window hasn't closed for winter, so I can't compare fall and winter yet, but we're doing makeups right now. But when I look at fall, and usually I compare, fall to fall when I get the fall data, and because we didn't have spring, is our students are pretty much where they have been in the last few years, coming in. It will be interesting to see their growth from fall to winter, and comparing that to other years. But at the end, the MAP is adaptive, so it's not specifically with the curriculum that you're teaching. It could be, but if you're reading at a 6th grade level, that's kind of where it'll start you. It'll go up and down. But so I have to look at that once it closes. And as far as, I don't know if it's necessarily team dependent or subject dependent. I'm not really sure, but I'm hearing both sides. I hear sides from like your daughter, for example, who's like, I get everything done pretty much in the time span of class, which is where I would like us to live more, so that children can be children and not be on the screen, because I'm on the screen all day and it's exhausting, and many of you probably are too with your jobs. Like, it's just exhausting. You just get tired, and being, sedentary. And we give them the breaks, and there are some classes where they actually have like movement breaks and stuff. But and then you have some parents where I believe on a principal chat not too long ago, it's 7, 8 o'clock at night. And so, that's not good either. My nephew at the high school, it's 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. And that's not healthy, because you have to wake back up and redo that all over again. And that could be multiple subjects. So I think it could be class dependent, it could be student dependent, and so that's why I wanted my teachers to see that data, that it's not just me saying this, the children are saying this is where it is, and that we have to adapt it to this environment that we're in. And also, yes, we want the curriculum to keep moving, but let's look deeper as opposed to like just a whole bunch of stuff.
Can I just raise an issue with respect to math as well? And so, bye, Kevin. I just wanted to raise an issue because, what I'm getting in terms of math specifically is that, my kid who, does well in math, but, gets a little intimidated by the subject, I'd say, she's doing really well with all of her schooling. And I think everything is always child dependent, right? So what one child feels in person or virtually is going to vary child to child. But, in terms of her, she's doing fine. She's finding math actually really easy. She had web as well last year, Jennifer, right? And so she is fully prepared with the materials. I guess I'm concerned with the disconnect with the map testing. I don't know. I would like a deeper look into this because it doesn't reflect at all what her grades are. And so, it might be just unique to my kid or maybe not. But, my concern is that why she'll say what she's doing in math right now is really easy, almost like she's not being challenged. And her grades are reflecting that. And whereas math, the results came back and they were not good. So, and it was shocking, actually. So I don't know, again, if it's my kid or, I know that con mappers is something new and the teachers are assigning that. I don't know. I'd ask the teacher to assign maybe more to Sasha to get her practicing for math because, she's not a great standardized test taker. But I don't know if that happened or not. And I guess I need to sit down with figuring out what that disconnect is. Like, where is it that, and as a parent, I'd love some help to figure that out so that I can help my kid, figure out where her weaknesses are with standardized testing, or is this just a pandemic thing? Because I noticed a very big difference between last year and now, and or the fall and now. And I don't know if it's related to just my kid, which is fair, but it has me concerned because I'm not seeing any problems or issues otherwise. Like I said, she's doing well. I will say when she was in person, providing you with this feedback, she came in skipping into the house from her days at school. I mean, she was so happy to see teachers in person. I mean, I can't tell you the difference in her attitude and it just made me so happy that she'd come in just so happy to have seen people, even though she doesn't even have friends in her class. She sort of was happy to see some people. And so that was good. I hope we can get back to that. And then, Miss Hunter, the issue with the sub. So, that's obviously an issue that hopefully will get addressed. That is concerning to me that, I don't think the kids should see that there's a substitute who's just not taking an interest in teaching kids. I mean, I think really that needs to change and needs to change quickly, and their voices need to be heard on that issue. I think they really need to. And for those of you who are not aware that, my daughter's class, it has a sub that's not really very active with the kids in the classroom. And so I think it's causing the kids to sort of try to figure out what do they do. And I hate to see that they're sort of struggling with what should we do. And they're coming to us as parents and, as leaders, to school. I just feel like they need to see that gets addressed. That's what I'll say. Since we're addressing some concerns, I'm going to raise that.
Yes, that was addressed today and will also continue to be addressed tomorrow. I did get emails today. My administrator that was there did speak directly to the person and will follow up again tomorrow. And she will also be collaborating with the science department tomorrow to make sure everything is good for next week. So it's through next week. Teacher will be back at the semester.
Okay, so I feel like we should move on a little bit, and I want everybody to have a chance to talk and to contribute, but can we also get to, as you start, for the people who haven't had a chance to talk, what can we do as a community to support the teachers and to support each other? And is that something that even makes sense, right? Like, I had Mrs. Quarles send me some suggestions for book club. Kevin talked about ending the year strong, and we want to do something, and we want to have a speaker series. Is there an appetite for that? Are parents Zoom overwhelmed? Ms. Hunter has been offering her principal chats, and a lot of people haven't attended, and I'm not sure if that's because they don't have time, don't have an interest, or don't have a worry, which is great, right? Like you don't attend because your kid is fine. So is there a need for a speaker series? If so, what kind of speakers would we want? Do we have energy for a book club? I mean, to me, I feel like, okay, we all hunkered under our beds. Then in the spring, then first semester, we were like, we're going to try and figure out how to deal with this. My brother-in-law describes us now as being, don't fumble on the 1-yard line. It's almost over. Should we be planning anything pandemic oriented? Because maybe we're all going to be freed soon.
Book club idea for parents or for students?
For parents. I mean, I don't think it's our job to do anything for students. We're here to support families and help families support their students and to support teachers. And not to support the kids for the teachers, so should we just be doing teacher appreciation? Should we be doing a book club? Should we be building community amongst each other, amongst ourselves? Should we be offering, emotional or support or friendship or camaraderie or education to parents? Like, what do you guys think? We aren't doing the things we normally do. We have to completely reinvent the wheel. In the spring, in the fall, we tried to connect people. Some of those groups have taken off. My group is a little bit active. There hasn't been a huge amount of success with that, partially because it was so difficult because of privacy issues. So what do you see the role of the PTO doing in being helpful to families and teachers for the rest of this school year? That's what I'm looking for. And as you go around and say that, feel free to jump in with your own personal success and struggles. Does anybody want to start, or you want me to call on people? Brooke, I'm going to call on you, actually.
Oh, man. Hi, everybody. It's nice to be with you. Sorry, my internet is going in and out. So, to be honest, I don't know if I have the personal bandwidth to join book clubs or more Zoom meetings. So maybe I'm a little bit too negative or tired, but I don't know if it's something that I think is helpful, but maybe that is. Maybe people are looking for ways to connect and I'm just down and out. Maybe, I don't know. But I think that's where I am. Can I put in a little plug though, while I have the floor, Emily?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I have been helping with the annual MLK Day. And this goes actually back with, are people able to engage? So on January 4th, we started a 14-day focus on MLK. We were supposed to have in our mailboxes a printed learning guide, thanks to funding by the Shaker Schools Foundation. We all know the post office is really busy right now, and so nobody has received those booklets. So that's one obstacle that we faced. And just with everything going on in current events, our social media posts aren't taking off, and there isn't really, people aren't able to connect with this 14-day beloved community that we spent a month trying to work on and push. And so I think from that perspective, I don't know if there's emotional bandwidth for people to take up more, or maybe we just haven't done a good job in marketing it. Maybe it could be a little bit of both, who knows? But with that said, though, we're going to try to re-push it starting on Monday. I think that's going to be the start of day 7 or 8 or something. Hopefully by Monday, everybody will have their printed learning guides in the mail, and we can hopefully finish strong. But it's 14 days learning more about Dr. King and his life and his teachings, a focus on the civil rights movement. And then on January 18th, after we were thinking that we would, combine and unite around learning together, we were going to celebrate together. So starting at 10 a.m. on January 18th, there is a donations drive at the middle school. In the parking lot. It's just a drop-off donations drive. And then at 2:00 in the afternoon, it's a virtual event. So it'll be live on the PTO YouTube link. The Moreland Theater is putting together really beautiful performances. And then there's going to be a DJ to hopefully give us a space for just a little bit of joy. We were thinking people needed a little bit of joy. So just some inspirational music. And then we have invited some local grassroots organizations for calls to action on how people can get involved in ways that might be able to advance or promote Dr. King's vision of a beloved community. So there is my plug. If it's okay, I do have an ask for the middle school PTO. The Shaker Schools Foundation donated $2,000 to us, and then they applied for a $2,000 grant. So our current budget right now is $3,900. We don't know if they have that, if they've been given that grant, that grant yet. So we are actually about $100 short in our budget. And so we are wondering if the PTO middle school budget might want to contribute to the virtual event. Just a quick rundown of that money. The DJ is $350. The Moreland Theater is about $1,000. We don't have that number completely firmed up. And the tech guy he just wants actually $100 donated to local food organizations to help with the food insecurity. So if you guys had $100 in your budget, we would be so grateful, just in case the Shaker Schools Foundation did not end up getting the grant that we think that they might.
Yeah, and Brooke had emailed me and I said we would bring that up tonight. Does anybody want to make a motion to donate for the middle school PTO to donate $100 to the MLK celebration? Is that what we call it, Brooke?
It's a very long name. Yeah, it's the celebration of beloved community in honor of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Okay, Aaron made a motion, I believe. Aaron Zellen made a motion on the chat.
I'll second that.
I'll second, yeah.
Okay. Second, and Aaron, are you allowed to second treasury motions? But that's whatever, that's fine. Okay, so any discussion? All in favor?
I just out of curiosity, which pot of money does it come out of? Do we vote on that or does Aaron just figure it out?
I think it's educational enrichment, right?
Okay.
Or outreach. Aaron, I guess you figure it out, right?
Yeah, I was gonna put it in educational enrichment, but I mean,
Okay.
Brooke, do you know what other units have put it in?
So the only other schools who are contributing are the high school, $250, and I believe that is coming out of their educational enrichment. And then Lomond, I'm sorry that I don't actually know where they have that allocated in their budget.
All right, any other discussion? Community builders, yeah, that's a good one. Any other discussion?
No.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Brooke, you got your $100.
Thank you. If we don't end up using it, I'll definitely let you know. So hopefully that Shaker Schools Foundation grant will come through, but we are so grateful. Thank you.
I
And
think
if
you can roll it. I think you can roll it into next year if you don't use it, right? You guys have an ongoing budget.
I'm new to this, so I don't know, but I'll
Okay.
look into that. Thank you. And if anybody has any suggestions on ways that we might be able to do this better, I think we have 13 or 12 days left of this 14-day endeavor. So we are open to any suggestions, or if you think that maybe we've done something wrong in ways that we could correct it, we would love to hear that. Aaron, is that for me?
Yes, I was
Thank
gonna,
you.
I actually think you did a great job of laying the groundwork leading, last month. I think the timing is just tough, just getting back to school this week. Not that you didn't prepare everybody for that, but I've been intending all week to catch up on the different daily things, and I still plan on doing so. Yesterday certainly threw off that plan a little bit. So I don't think that you did anything wrong. I think it's just a confluence of circumstances that make the timing a little challenging, but I think it's definitely worth re-upping your posts and everything to regain some momentum for next week.
I think that's something we have to offer, Brooke, too, is, we're trying to, I hate reinventing the wheel. And if you guys are putting together something amazing, the middle school shouldn't be putting anything together. And Courtney had emailed that she, as communications person, wasn't able to attend tonight, but is happy to promote. So maybe if you could just send some information to Courtney, she could promote it on behalf of the middle school PTO, and maybe that would help too.
In what ways were you thinking? Social media or an e-blast, or what are you thinking?
I'm bad at promotion. That's not my best strength, but I think probably all of those things. you know, any way you can get it out there. Because I do think, I mean, I feel certainly I have loved going and participating in the MLK Day events. And I've felt overwhelmed sort of this year of like, oh, it's online and I have not been energized around it. And so I think when you say you don't have the energy for a book club, like I totally get it. I just don't know if we should be doing that. But hearing that it's hard to get people excited about MLK Day is sort of informative for me about whether we should be doing a speaker series or we should be doing something. I mean, if you guys put all that effort in and you're not getting a huge reward, that sort of sounds to me like maybe we shouldn't put a lot of effort into trying to engage people, but I don't know. So I'd love to hear what other people think, but I think we could certainly promote what you've already put together. Like that's the least we can do.
Thank you. I'll connect with Courtney. Thank you.
Erin, you had your hand, Connell, you had your hand.
Yeah, I still think it's really important to promote and try to engage everybody as much as possible with the time remaining in the 2-week effort. Again, I think it was just the timing was a little tough, but I think there's some time to make up that ground. I also, if anything, I think it's even more important than ever to try and engage people in this area. So Brooke, I promise to catch up on everything and look forward to more, the future posts for the remaining time period.
Thank you. And I do think that when people have the printed booklets, it might feel a little bit more tangible, maybe. So we'll see. We'll see how it all shapes out, but thank you.
Thank you. Shen, you looked like you wanted to say something a second ago. No?
Oh, I mean, not pertaining to the MLK Day, with the exception of just expressing my appreciation for the work that that Brooke has put into that. So I can certainly go next to,
Great.
discuss what's been going well, but I didn't want to interrupt unless Brooke was done.
Yeah, no, I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, no problem. So as far as some general suggestions, I think I think it's difficult to get, especially as we are, I don't know now, 9-10 months into the pandemic and everything has been virtual. I do think it's very difficult, even for things that are of our interest, to spend another hour or 2 or 3 or however long online. If we were to kind of move down that route, I think maybe something like a speaker series may be something that would be interesting. The diversity and inclusion director or person associate that now it works for the school district. Her name escapes me, but I think that some having her speak maybe just in general as to what like her short and long-term, Dr. Wilder, thank you, short and long-term goals are. And maybe also, I want to say that there was some type of like Zoom. It wasn't a Zoom call. I think there was some type of like thing that was sent out in email form, video. That's what I'm trying to say. Video that was sent out in email form several weeks, maybe a few months ago, discussing like what they are doing, and maybe a more personable series where we can ask questions and kind of get some more details into that would be something that people are interested in. But also, if nobody shows up, then that's also understandable, because it's hard to continue to do this month after month after month. But that's the only thing that I think I know I would attend something like that, but I just don't know what people have energy behind in January of this pandemic. As far as what's going well, I would say for my middle schooler, I think he is actually appreciating having this learning environment right now. His grades are good. When he does fall back, I think that because we're in this environment, he has the ability to, all the students have the ability to ask their teachers if they can retake something, which I don't remember that being a possibility when we were in school. So just the fact that, okay, I didn't get a very good grade on this, can I just retake it? And yeah, we definitely stay up on stay up with him on has he reached out to his teacher for something that he could have done better in. But just the fact that he has the opportunity to ask, I am appreciative of. So as far as just general classes, that's going well, with the exception of the science sub, which has already been brought up, and I appreciate that it's being addressed. He actually did not know his science sub's name, so that was kind of uncomfortable. But what I will add, a bright side to all of that, is that the communication for this, and I came in late, so I apologize if this has already been mentioned, but the communication about the science sub and what was going on in the class was all through the pod connection that we initiated several weeks ago. So it started up well. Lots of people introduced themselves and talked about their kids and what their activities were. After that, it kind of died down, but I appreciate that distribution list is there, because clearly when there is an issue and one person knows about it, they have a medium in which to share it very easily. So I'm appreciative of that. And we heard about it. The email was sent, like, I believe it was earlier today, and already we're having a conversation about how it is working towards being rectified. So I think that's all good. Last thing I would say is that my son is in Model UN and he loves it. So if there are, I'm sure not every activity can be duplicated online, but he seems to have made a connection with the people that he is that's in his little group. They're talking about their home lives, as well as whatever assignments they have through the Model in UN. So that's my one suggestion, and those are where it's going well. Thanks.
That's great. And Dr. Wilder is sort of like my only suggestion for a speaker series. I'm like, we should do a speaker series. Who should we get? We could get Dr. Wilder, and who else?
Right.
I don't want to step on what the counselors are doing and try and reinvent the wheel there. If they've got that, they've surveyed, and they think they know what they're handling. I don't want to try and do that better. But I think Dr. Wilder is a really sort of great suggestion. And I know she wants to be introduced to as many people in the community as possible. So I think we should definitely do that. Does anybody have any other suggestions for anyone else we could have? So instead of a series, we could have a speaker. She could maybe do a series of multiple evenings, and maybe we just do a speaker series with one speaker, a series of topics. That could be a thing. But does anybody else have a suggestion of Erin?
Lisa Damore has a
I think
podcast.
she's planning on doing something. Yeah, just for the school, the district at large, for parents to check in. So I mean, I don't know that she wouldn't be open to doing it for middle school parents. But were you suggesting just middle school, or were you talking? I think just so that I understand, I'm part of the equity inclusion, whatever we're calling ourselves, team now.
Got it.
We've gone through some name changes, but I think she's talked about, and she is somebody who enjoys doing those talks, so I'm sure she'd be very open to it. But I do know she's going to do a community-wide one, or at least she was talking about it. I'm not 100% sure now where that lands, but.
I love Lisa Damore, and if I just sort of figure she's
no, not Lisa. Sorry, Dr. Wilder.
Dr. Wilder.
Dr. Wilder. Yeah.
You were about to say Lisa, that weren't you, Erin?
Yes, Lisa. Yeah, I was gonna just, if you're looking for suggestions, I was just going to suggest her. She started a podcast in late summer, and I know a lot of us have probably seen her speak in the past, but it's a little more focused on some of the typical parenting things, but in the context of the pandemic. And I've only been able to listen to a couple episodes, but so far it's really helpful and pertinent. So that might be something particularly helpful, based even if it's narrowed down a little bit to this age range.
And does anybody know if she is charging for those or if she's,
I don't know.
I had her, she was at the middle school. She did was it 2 years ago? 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, I think so.
She did a community-wide talk, and it was at the middle school in the evening. And then she spoke to my staff a little bit after that, because that was my first time seeing her. And I know that she's definitely open to speaking for Shaker. And she didn't charge us anything, but I don't want to say that she wouldn't. But she's she definitely wants to speak to our community, since this is where she lives and all that kind of stuff. So
she's always amazing. I'd love to have her.
I do have her information.
I think Anaway had her for a speaker series. It feels like so long ago that I was Anaway's PTO president, but I think that we did have her. I think that she might have charged us like 150 maybe, or so I think there was a couple $100 involved with it, but I think it was a well-attended night. So it's a great idea.
Okay. Yeah, she spoke. I saw her at the middle school. I've seen her at the high school. She's fantastic. And we certainly need, all the parenting help we can get. So Dr. Wilder, Lisa DeMore, any other suggestions?
The only other thing that I would suggest is our students are spending a lot more time on the internet. So maybe someone to speak with either the students regarding internet safety or some type of internet safety presentation for parents.
Okay. Is that something that's handled in the classroom?
So in the past, we've had, it would usually be in October, where we partnered with Cuyahoga County. And I know last year wasn't as successful. We also tried to partner with the Shaker Heights Police Department, but so our counseling department has been looking for someone who is like really good to do that with students, and we haven't found anyone yet. I think the county just stopped doing it as much as they had before.
I'm sorry. I might be able to help with contacts on that. This is Segev Phillips. I'm so in the civilian world, I'm a federal prosecutor, and I've done child exploitation cases. And I have contacts in that area. I'll look into seeing who's doing presentations these days.
That would be awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, good. Any other suggestions? I think if we did something every 3 weeks or every month, end of January, end of February, end of March, end of April, 3 or 4 speakers, see if people are interested, that would be great. And again, we could have Dr. Wilder more than once. I'm sure she has multiple topics that she could do. But any other suggestions?
So I was just checking through my emails, and in December, I received an email from the Shaker Schools Foundation, and Lisa DeMore is actually doing a presentation on managing stress, anxiety, and parenting under COVID-19 on February 17th. I don't know, I went online to see if I could find more information about it. I can't find a link to register, but she is going to be presenting in just a few weeks. So there may be an opportunity to still join in because it is virtual.
Oh, great.
And it's from 7 to 8 p.m. I'll keep looking to see if I can find a registration link, because I remember it came through an email, or it came in an email, and I don't know if the registration has closed or if I'm just not, able to find all the information right now, but she is coming.
Thank you. I didn't realize that. I missed that.
Great. I'm trying to search that too. Oh, there's the e-news in December, yeah. Okay, because we can promote that, just let our parents know about that too. That would be great.
Well, and I don't know, I have no idea with virtual meetings if there's a maximum of attendees permitted, but I would be willing to reach out tomorrow to see if it's still possible to register. And I don't think that there was a charge. I think that attendees were encouraged to make a donation if they were able to. So I would be willing to reach out and then get back to everyone to see if it's still a possibility.
It looks like it is, because I just.
It is. Can you find it?
Yeah, I found
Okay.
it, and you can just accept it. You can, and it's through the foundation. So I mean, again, there's no need to reinvent the wheel unless we wanted to tailor it to middle school families.
Or maybe do something that's a follow-up, like maybe dive in deeper with one of the areas in particular she discusses.
Yeah, but this is great. I mean, I think just promoting this too, Leslie, like I got that email, I never saw that. So I didn't even know about it. And so we should be, that's something relevant to middle school families, obviously very relevant. So let's just try and promote this. When it's on Zoom, I mean, the way that Zoom works, like you can do this type of thing, but you can also do the webinar which we've done at the middle school too, where just the presenters present and then you can have any number. It's just how many people your thing handles, which I think the Shaker accounts are pretty big. Probably the school's foundation account will handle a lot of people. So that's a great suggestion. Okay. So does anybody think a book club is a good idea, or does that seem exhausting?
That's a difficult compound question.
Sorry,
what is, oh,
I was saying that's a compound question. Like, if I just said yes. Well, we can talk about book club, but I had another idea after we talked about book club.
Okay. Erin Connell, you were about to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say that for what it's worth, I find these meetings very helpful in the principal chats too, just to like check in every so often on, because it's such a fluid situation, so getting a feel for what Principal Hunter is experiencing, what the other parents are experiencing. And I find these just occasional check-ins really helpful.
Good. Kevin and I had a little bit of a texting altercation. He wanted to have a program, and I said, if we want to have a program, let's have a program. I just want people to connect.
Yeah, this is great.
What's going on with everyone else? And he was like, you got to have a speaker to come in and something to promote, and we need to end the year strong. And I'm like, I am all for a speaker, but I think we need just to talk to each other once in a while. So I'm glad it's helpful for more than just me. I appreciate that. Segev, what was your suggestion?
Oh, sorry. So I was thinking through, there are so many meetings and so many things out there and so many organizations that we are sort of involved with that are trying to do Zoom that we're just done joining stuff. But I was thinking through like the organizations that whose emails I actually will then read or are drawn to. And our synagogue specifically sends out one that I swear I read every week, even though I don't know any of these people, but it's essentially like a kudos email, a sort of a kudos and whatever. So it occurred to me, like, if there was an email every week, or a communication, I should say, every week, that both had kudos, and maybe people could like nominate a essential worker of the week, and we could highlight some parent, and it's just a matter of like morale is just so low. And I wonder if we can do something like that celebrates the kids and the families and maybe some of the essential workers. It might just help with people's morale, and maybe, I don't know, It's just a,
If we could even do that with teachers, right? Like, is that, I mean, how about
Sure.
school
Sure,
employees?
parents
staff,
could
and
nominate,
teachers?
yeah, parents could nominate a parent of the week, or parents could nominate a teacher of the week. You know, we could just highlight them like weekly awards and kudos or something.
Or maybe students could nominate a teacher of the week.
Yeah, I'm sorry, anybody, sorry, yes, of course.
I mean,
And-
I'm just thinking like it would be really fun for the kids if they got to actually write in an email to Miss Hunter and say, I nominate my teacher because he or she did X this week that I thought was so great or something.
Yeah, my thought is not to burden Miss Hunter with any more stuff.
It could be somebody else. She could designate. She could designate somebody to receive and vote on these awards, because hopefully she'd get more than one, and then she could hold them for later issues.
But that's
Yeah.
an
Maybe you
idea.
could do more than 7th grade and an 8th grade each week or something. I don't know.
If the kids did that, if you could promote somehow the kids doing that and get the information to us, we could then, you know, teacher appreciation. I mean, I can tell you, in my son's pod, Mr. Oral is going above and beyond. You know, everybody loves him. He's doing
He's
great.
awesome. My kids never had him for class, but he did baseball, and he was just, I mean, he was just, and soccer. He was just like the nicest person.
And so
kind.
that teacher would be like my vote for teacher appreciation. I mean, they're all doing a great job, but Max has really good teachers this year, but Mr. Oral is doing a little bit better job than the others, which is sad because, you know, Miss Pace and Mr. Sears are amazing too. But, you know, we could promote that and somehow, you know, thanks. Brooklyn Boulevard is doing social media teacher appreciation on a regular basis. I mean, that might be a nice thing for us to do.
And would
I
it
can
only have
definitely-
to be just one teacher? I mean, couldn't it be as many teachers as maybe Miss Hunter receives like comments about? I mean,
Yeah.
isn't there a way to just post it all somehow?
Sure.
I just worry about it getting watered down and like it being a monster email. You know, I don't know how many they get, I guess.
Well, could it be a Google form where the kids would like write, you know, like my son's counselor is Miss Abrams, and she does a lot of really nice check-ins with just a simple Google form that doesn't require, but she gives them the opportunity to respond with just 1 or 2 like simple sentences. And I find that he completes most of the requests because it's simple and it's not too time consuming. I mean, it could be like, there could be a structure to it, so it wouldn't become maybe too burdensome.
Yeah, let's think on that. That's a great way. I mean, I think we do need to do some more teacher appreciation, either for everybody, for the whole staff and the teachers, but also for the teachers that are, you know, going out of their way.
I can say that, I'm sorry, feedback from teachers, like after parent-teacher conferences or after there's been a parent meeting, they really appreciate when parents say things about what they do. I don't hear a lot about what the kids say. I do hear from the teachers about what parents say. No matter how much I say what you all are saying about what they're doing, hearing it from the parent seems to, have a lot more weight. So I think that's a good suggestion. I've heard that over, and I send emails. Once I hear something, I send emails to teachers to let them know that they've been appreciated by, ex-parent.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I was going to say my high schooler had 2 interactions, who is not doing well in school, had 2 interactions today with teachers, and one teacher was super supportive and understanding and said, you're going through a pandemic, like it's okay, let's get this work done. And the other teacher said, if you don't get a B in this class, you're not going to get an IB diploma. And she came away from these 2 interactions, both teachers trying to inspire her to do her work, with one really positive and one not positive, which prompted a discussion of Max's conferences and how one of his teachers was super supportive. So how do you praise and thank those teachers that are being extra supportive and lifting our kids up during this time? and give those teachers some special recognition. Well, of course, the teachers obviously all need to be supported and are all doing a great job. I mean, you know, they're going through a pandemic too. But I think we need to figure out a way to reach out to support all those teachers, especially the ones that are going the extra mile.
I wonder if there's a way that we could do it like in an organized way, like Friday, January 25th, we could ask for compliments on 7th grade math teachers. And then like the next Friday, like 8th grade math teachers or something, so that we would be able to capture like people's attention. Like, oh, I love my 7th grade math teacher. I really want to say, you know, maybe that, just thinking of what would actually get people to respond, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, does anybody else, I think we're getting to, Shen just left, we're getting to the end of our time here. Does anybody else have anything that they think is important to add or suggestions, or does anyone want to be in charge of organizing such an activity?
Which activity are you referring to specifically?
A teacher appreciation type activity. I mean, we definitely have 3 people. I mean, I'll reach out to Jennifer and our other 2 teacher appreciation people. But if anybody's interested in organizing a specific activity, that would be great too.
Okay, I just want to, I'm sorry, before saying that, I want to highlight that part of my thought on this was that it's not, I mean, we do a lot, teacher appreciation, always great, never a bad idea. I really, like, if, I don't know that I'm just going to log on to see 7th grade math teachers generally being praised. That's just me. I mean, if that's the only thing in the email, it's going to feel generic to me a little bit. I like if we can get family kudos, like parents can write in about, I mean, I'm almost envisioning like the back of a yearbook where it's like, you know, whatever, but, and then also like, if people in the community can nominate, you know, someone to thank, you know, so Pete, the crossing guard, for example, I don't know if you know him, but like, he like logged into my daughter's class and with his guitar and sang a song. Now, admittedly, that was at Onaway, not here, but like, he's going above and beyond. I'm sure there are people like that in the community generally that I think, or you know, nurses, people who are really sacrificing, who might not feel seen. And I think if we can celebrate those parents that are just really kicking ass, like, I mean, I've kept my job and I just moved at home. That doesn't, you know, I don't feel like it's a big deal, but there are people who are really struggling and really basically being heroes. And I think we could do something to celebrate those people. That's, sorry. Just a food for thought, at least maybe we can think through what that would look like.
Sure. I mean, I guess the question is, how do you find out who they are, and how do you, you know, I don't quite know the logistics of how to do that, but I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. I mean, you could use like our, I don't know if our PTO email, we really want to log down with those kinds of things, but or I guess I don't know what the PTO email is actually used for more generally, but you know, some sort of collective reservoir where, like, I'd be happy to look through and at least initially see what it looks like to put something together, at least for the rest of the school year. I mean, it's only.
Yeah, if you want to write something up, we can, you know, Courtney said she'll distribute, you know, like, I think that's a great idea. Be interesting to see what kind of input we get from people.
Okay.
All right, anything else? Any other ideas? No one was excited about my book club, including me, right? Leslie?
Well, I actually, I mean, I love a good book and I'm always open to new titles. And I've been thinking about you know, what we could do that wouldn't feel overwhelming, because I know I'm kind of overwhelmed by all of it. But maybe we could find a book to suggest and, you know, promote the book, and then maybe, you know, a few months from now, just come together, much like we are tonight, and just, you know, chat about it without there being any pressure. I mean, maybe if we could just find a good option. I mean, we could consider it. I love to learn new, you know, things, and I can definitely benefit from some, you know, strategies for, you know, being, I mean, you know, just being better at my like everyday stuff, and helping my kids.
And Miata, has anybody thought about an all school book read? I mean, you guys have done that in the past. Is that something in the pandemic that's too much of a burden, or would it be a bringing together kind of event?
For staff,
For everybody, you know,
for
when
everybody.
we do that, it's all school staff, students,
Yeah.
parents, you know. those
This
were
year, no. Just
too much.
Yeah, it will be a lot for, I think, our staff to, you know, and with students trying to just keep their heads above water
Okay.
at this point. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. It was good to connect. I will try to send out an email soliciting thoughts and volunteers for some of these ideas. But thank you. And thank you, Miata, for coming. And
Great seeing everyone.
Great. Thank you very much. All right.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Emily.
Emily.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.